Welcome back, guys. In this video, we are going to cover about the remaining classes that are left, which is D class, class D and class E. And also we are going to summarize all the classes of class that we discussed in class pool addressing as well. So let us begin. So when we talk about class D and class E, then first of all, we are going to just check the first byte because it will be clear from the first byte itself. Like the first leftmost 4 bits will be reserved as 1, 1, 1, 1 and 0. And in class E, it will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, and the rest of the bits can vary. If the rest of the bits can vary, then the total number of IP addresses that are possible in class D is actually 32, which 32 bits. 2 to the power 32 bits minus it will be 4 bits, so which will be equivalent to 2 to the power 29 addresses that are possible in class D. And similarly it will be again same, which is 32 bits minus 4 bits, and it will be equivalent to 2 to the power 29 addresses. Okay, and this address these addresses that we have is equal to 6.25% of address space. Okay, and it will be same for class E as well, which is 6.25% of the address space of IPv4 protocol that we have. Moving on, class D and class E, we generally use class D addresses that whatever addresses that we have for the multicasting purposes, and for so in the multicasting, each user in the class who has been assigned with the class D address, he will be assigned with the multicast address as well as the unicast address as well. Okay, and for the class E addresses, these are basically reserved addresses, and they will be used they have been reserved thinking that they will be used later in the future. Moving on, and there is a specific note that I would like to share with you all. Like, there is no concept of network ID and host ID in class D and class E. So whatever the network ID and host ID concept that we discussed for class A, B and C, there is no concept, no funda of network ID and host ID for class D and E. Now, I want to give you a brief summarization of whatever the classes that we discussed. So here is class A, B, C, D, E, and here are the networks and the hosts in each network. For class A, the starting leftmost bit is 0. For class B, it's 1, 0. For 1, 1, 0. C, it's 1, 1, 0. D, it's 1, 1, 1, 0. And for E, it's 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, the number of total networks that are possible in class A is 2 to the power 8 minus 1, since the leftmost bit is 0. It's 2 to the power 16 minus 2 for class B. The 2 bytes are in which the 2 bytes are used for the network ID, and 16 minus 2 is just because the 2 bytes are used for the class B identification. And for class C, it's 2 to the power 24. 3 bytes are used here in class C for the network ID, and 3 bits are the leftmost 3 bits are used for the class identification. So the total number of networks are over here, which are 2,097,152 in class C. And for class D and class E, there is no concept of networks. And when we see at the host, when we look at the number of hosts that are possible in class A and B and C, so as you can see, there is a hell lot of there is a huge variation in the hosts that are present in the each of the classes in each of the network of a specific class. So if I take just one network, and in that particular network, I will have to use all the 777,216 addresses for all the hosts. Let's suppose if I want to take one class A address and I want to use just 100,000 addresses. So even if I want to use just 100,000 addresses, then I would be allocated a class A address, and for that class A address, the rest of the remaining addresses, which are approximately 16,666,000 addresses, will be wasted. So this kind of like huge wastage will be there for class A, B and C addresses, since only these 3 addresses are used for organizations level and for assigning the IP addresses to the general people. So there is a lot of wastage of IP addresses when we see. And similarly, let's suppose if I have in class A, I want just 50 networks, and for 50 networks I don't so as you can see, for 50 networks I don't let's suppose in class A, for in class A, not in class A, in general, I just want, let's suppose, 250 networks. But for 250 network, it says that either we have to go with class B and class C, because only class B and class C provides us the privilege of having 250 networks. But what if I just want the number of hosts to be like a 100,000 range? Then if I want to have number of hosts to be 100,000 range, then I have to consider only class A. And for class A, there is some concept of subnetting that we will see further. Like what is the concept of subnetting and supernetting, and how can we use it for classful addressing? So the major disadvantage of classful addressing is that the most of the IP addresses in for all for classes or A, B, and C are like wasted. And if we talk about class E as well, most of the IP addresses in all the addresses which are approximately 6.25% are wasted, as they have been reserved for future use. And if so so this is the case of this is all about the classful addressing. So in the next video, we'll cover subnetting and supernetting for the classful addresses. So that will be all for this video. Thank you all.